This is iFIBER 1 News. Here are today's top stories.
A year ago Wednesday, the WSU community was stunned as news spread that Tyler Helinski had died.
Washington residents may soon see prescribed fire return to places where it hasn't been seen in some time.
The Othello Husky girls basketball team has struggled in recent years, but there's been a shining bright spot through the hard times.
A group of mariners arrived on land at Mission View Elementary School in Wenatchee on Tuesday.
From the iFIBER 1 newsroom, this is iFIBER 1 News, and it starts now.
A year ago Wednesday, the WSU community was stunned as news spread that Tyler Helinski had died. The 21-year-old's parents, Mark and Kim, said they had no idea their son was suffering, and neither did his closest friends, his teammates, or his coaches. Helinski, who was expected to be the Cougars' starting quarterback the past season, was found dead in his Pullman apartment. His death has left a lasting impact on the WSU community, from devastation and sadness in the days and months since his passing to now hope and a push for change. On Monday, the foundation started by Helinski's family, Helinski's Hope, announced a major partnership with the NCAA Sports Science Institute. Helinski's Hope Foundation was launched just a few months after Tyler's death to honor his life and put a spotlight on mental health among student athletes. Since its inception, the foundation has raised more than $300,000, bringing mental health training to several universities, which include the Bystander Intervention Program Step Up and mental health curriculum Behind Happy Faces. The foundation's objective in their partnership with the NCAA is to encourage evidence-based approaches to bolster mental wellness support for student athletes. Through the foundation, Tyler's family has vowed to keep his memory alive through support programs that will help destigmatize mental illness. For more information on the foundation, visit them online at helinskishope.org. This is Joe Utter for iFIBER 1 News.
This segment is brought to you by...
Change doesn't have to be complicated. With a low-profile microwave hood combination that's ready to install right out of the box. It fits in the same space as your under-cabinet hood, so you can get your microwave off the countertop and make space for the routines worth keeping. The low-profile microwave hood combination, from the #1 selling appliance brand in the USA.
Whirlpool Appliances, now available at more furniture in Ephrata.
Washington residents may soon see prescribed fire return to places where it hasn't been seen in some time, on lands owned and managed by the State Department of Natural Resources.
Prescribed fire has always been there, and it's always been considered a very effective management tool. Its use was primarily only limited due to the human perception or the impacts of regulation or the idea of the safety aspect of it from the standpoint of putting potentially communities at risk. So that's what the limiting factors were.
Other large public landowners like the U.S. Forest Service have performed prescribed burning for years, but DNR has largely refrained from using it over the last 2 decades. Now Geisler's boss, Public Lands Commissioner Hillary Franz, says planned and precise burning is back on the table for Washington's forests. The state says about 2.7 million acres of forest land in central and eastern Washington need to be treated somehow to make them more resistant to fire, insects, and disease. DNR wants prescribed burning to be employed in those acres alongside mechanical thinning in the next 20 years.
We're planning a couple of thousand acres of prescribed burning over the next couple of years. We're gradually ramping up our capacity to do so.
Last year, a pilot project conducted 15 burns on 8,000 acres around the state. A report found those burns efficiently reduced fuels and created air pollution that was insignificant or moderate at worst for nearby communities.
One of the big issues with prescribed burning is smoke. And so, this question of how do you want your smoke? Do you want it a little bit at a time when people are prescribed burning, or do you want like we had last summer? Heaven forbid. We had some of the worst air quality in the world.
DNR biologist Ken Bevis works with private landowners who own anywhere from 5 to 2,000 acres of forest land. That's about 215,000 landowners who own 3.2 million acres, 50% of the private forest land in the state of Washington. Those landowners could also make use of prescribed fire, although it requires lots of expensive safety steps.
You would need to make sure that you had secure boundaries, roads, fire lines, hoses, a crew standing there before you torched it off. So it's a fairly complicated process to implement a prescribed burn, but it's totally the way to go when you can, because when you're done, you've reduced the fuels, your trees are spaced out, your forest is healthier, and you don't have to do it again for 15 years.
Jefferson Robbins, iFIBER 1 News.
This segment is brought to you by...
Your taste buds bored? Well, then bring them to Jay's Teriyaki. Not only does Jay's have a variety of teriyaki dishes, they also offer mouth-watering salads and sides. Call Jay's 509-764-5155. Jay's Teriyaki, located at 123 East Broadway in Moses Lake, because it's all in the sauce.
The Othello Husky girls basketball team has struggled in recent years, but there's been a shining bright spot through the hard times. That bright spot has been senior Macy Hampton, who broke the 1,000-point barrier in Tuesday night's game against Grandview. Hampton needed 14 points going into the game to hit 1,000 career points, and she finished the night with 24. She racked up 7 in the first quarter and tacked on 4 more in the second quarter to enter halftime with 11 points. After a drive to the basket, Hampton only needed 1 more point to hit 1,000. She fired up a 3-point shot in tight coverage and saw it go through to launch herself past the 1,000-point mark. The game was immediately stopped, and Hampton was recognized in front of her home crowd for her accomplishment. After the game, Hampton talked about reaching her goal.
I didn't think it was gonna happen until this year, really. I wasn't keeping track or anything, I was just trying to play my best. It's nice to get 1,000, just individually kind of pumps me up, but the overall goal, I think, would be to help my team get the win.
Hampton becomes the 7th girls basketball player in school history to hit the 1,000-point mark. She has yet to decide where to play college basketball, but she has several schools that have shown interest in her. Hampton and the Huskies are currently in a battle to make districts for the first time in Hampton's high school career. The playoff hunt continues on Friday when the Huskies travel to Prosser. I'm Adam Chikoski for iFIBER 1 Sports.
A group of mariners arrived on land at Mission View Elementary School in Wenatchee on Tuesday, and looking a bit like Noah's Ark since they were also carrying at least 1 moose on board as well. The Seattle Mariners Caravan is a community outreach project which has been making appearances in cities and towns all across Washington state for over 2 decades now. The caravan travels by motor coach and always features several M's players and other notable personnel, as well as the team's beloved mascot, the Mariner Moose. This year's caravan visit in Wenatchee included former Wenatchee Apple Sox standout Marco Gonzalez and pitcher Sean Armstrong, in addition to play-by-play broadcaster Dave Sims. During their stop at Mission View, the caravan discussed how the school's kids could achieve their dreams by staying drug-free, respecting themselves and others, remaining in school, keeping a positive attitude, and being motivated. They also got to hang out with their new friends and watch some Mariners highlights from last season, and the Moose, of course, provided plenty of entertaining antics for the packed gymnasium as well.
I think it really just kind of ignites our passion, really gets us excited for the season. I know this time of year, it really just seems like spring training's right around the corner, so for us to be able to connect and kind of collectively get excited, that's what it's all about.
It's been a blast so far. We got to see some really cool people last night, and anytime you get a chance to come here and be at elementary school and talk to the kids that are our future, it's always a blessing to come here and be able to enjoy the day with them.
As for the Mariner Moose, well, not surprisingly, he didn't have much to say to our cameras, but true to form, was able to aptly summarize the day's events without any words at all.
The caravan, what'd you think?
See you guys, but
Moose doesn't talk.
The Mariners Caravan kicked off last week in Longview and Linwood before stopping in Yakima on Monday prior to Tuesday's appearance in Wenatchee, which also featured a stop at Pybus Public Market. It rolls on to Walla Walla and Pasco to end the week before finishing up its circuit for the season in Lacey next Wednesday. Reporting for iFIBER 1 News, I'm Chris Hansen.
This is iFIBER 1 News. For more information on these stories and other news, visit us online at iFiber1.com or check us out on Facebook.